Thank you for listening and welcome to the Life Podcast, a proud member of the Eventide Entertainment Podcast Network. I'm your host, Don Smith. Aaron Lopez stops in to promote his podcast and his upcoming play at Playhouse South. I reminisce about my theater days. If you enjoy the show, like and follow the Life 1069 on Facebook and Don Smith Comedy on Twitter, or tune in live on Wednesdays from noon to 2 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can stream the show live at WWSU1069.org.
Overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
All right, we are back on the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith. We've kicked Adrienne Miller and Archie Wiseman out of the studio. Fantastic guests. Always fun to be in here. Thanks again for coming. And they have been replaced by Aaron Lopez, correct?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
You have that hyphenated.
I do.
I've always wondered why
Lopez makes it easier on everybody. So just go that route.
Because I can't pronounce the other part.
Yeah, most people can't. It's Belgian, and people throw it's the CH, and it throws everybody off. So.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Americans are stupid.
It's all right. That's why we go Lopez. We go the opposite route. So.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show. It's your first time
It
on.
is.
Actually, first time I've met you. Now, I know I've met your wife a number of times.
Yep. Absolutely.
Fantastically talented actress.
Yeah, through Unwritten.
Yeah, through Unwritten podcast. And you have a couple of podcasts going on Eventide Entertainment, who also broadcasts my show.
Absolutely.
And tell us about those.
All right, so the first one that I've got, that one's been going since about October of last year, and that's the Drienne. It's a movie review podcast. So every Thursday, a new episode drops, and what I like to do is bring on a guest host, somebody new every week. I've had a few double up, but we just sit and talk about a movie that we saw that past week. The nice thing is usually people have had a week to see it. We try to do a new release.
You see the same one, and then
so it'll be, for instance, this past week, a friend of mine and I went and saw Black Panther, and so we went and saw that, and then a couple days later we digested it a little bit, and then talked about it, recorded, and that'll come out tomorrow. So it's just a rundown of the movie with our likes and dislikes, and sometimes we get a little off topic But it's fun. It's a good time.
It happens on podcasts and radio.
Absolutely. That's usually what I find to be the most interesting conversation is, seeing how people will come in and we're here to talk about this and that, but seeing where it leads, and it's always fun. So
right.
Yeah. And then the other one actually is coming. First episode's coming next week. It's called Top Rope Wrestling Podcast. So any pro wrestling fans, that's new local podcast for you to listen to. And actually, my guest host from a couple weeks ago, Ben Norsworthy, is a former teacher friend of mine, and he's going to co-host that with me, and that'll come out maybe once or twice a month. We're going to start small and just do the pay-per-views and talk about wrestling. And
now that's just pro wrestling, or do you get into MMA?
We're not sure yet. Right now, we're going to start small and go with just pro wrestling. But it's kind of cool being in Ohio.
Because if you've never met Kyle Steele,
okay, I haven't.
He would be a fantastic guest, actually, for either one of your podcasts.
Excellent.
Because he does a couple. He does an MMA podcast.
Okay.
Plus, he does the Nicolas Cage movie review
hour
podcast.
I've heard of that.
Fantastic. Yeah. So he would be a great guest for either.
I'll
one
have
of those
to check
shows,
him out on that. Yeah, absolutely. Because we're not sure exactly where we want it to go yet, and we're just going to start small and see where it goes and where it leads to. But I'm excited to see what we're going to do. Essentially, just talking about wrestling in the world, and the cool thing is I was thinking that. We could try to do some of those local shows. There's a lot of these high school gym shows that make their way through Ohio, so might even be fun to try and.
Yeah, I think I'm on a couple of pages with some because being in acting and film and comedy. There are a lot of comedy wrestling fans. Out there.
Absolutely. So I'll have to reach out to Kyle.
I've never been huge on.
Well, and it's not for everybody. It isn't.
It's entertaining. Now, I did used to watch the Glow wrestling. Back
Have you seen the
80s.
Netflix series on that?
I did. I saw it, and it was pretty good. Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
Good. But I remember because my dad used to record them because he loved the Glow Girls.
Yeah, and it's fun.
He was a pervert, and it was really entertaining. It was hilarious most of the time.
And it's everybody always jokes about it, saying that it's a male soap opera, but it is.
Yeah.
We know it's a show, and the cool thing is the professional side of it. They stop trying to pretend that it's real, and they open up that and they say, hey, we're putting on a show. We want you to be entertained. And, there's those people out there that grew up with it, and it's changing, and some like it, some never liked it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of the big arena events.
Yeah.
And that to me is a different. I can get into it then.
Yeah.
I can't watch it on TV, but when you're in the arena and there's a lot of energy there.
Yeah, and I've been to a couple actually over here at the Nutter Center when they bring like SmackDown. I'd gone with a couple friends, and it's a good time, and there's people who can't stand it, but you take them to the live event. Like you said, there's a bit of an energy there.
Oh, yeah. There's
you go to
a
any
huge
professional
difference.
sport, it's better live.
Yeah,
Always better live.
That's true, because I don't think I'd ever be able to watch a baseball game on TV.
I love baseball, but I know exactly what you mean.
But I don't mind. It's been a long time since I've gone to a stadium to watch a game, but I wouldn't mind doing it.
Yeah, that's
but
fun.
I can't sit there and watch.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun going, and it's just getting a beer and a hot dog and just being there, and there's something to be said about just being at the event. Yeah,
that is for sure. Now you are also going to be directing a stage production at Playhouse South.
Correct. Yeah, I'm a busy guy. In a couple weeks, we have auditions for Rock of Ages, and it's one of the first times that it's been done in a community theater in the area. It came through a few years ago through the Schuster and the Victoria Theater Association. They brought the tour around, but it's one of the first times it's been done around here, and it's going to be a really cool show. I'm excited. It's nothing like the movie. Everyone always talks about the Tom Cruise movie that came out a few years ago.
I've seen it.
It's not good. They've got their moments, but
it's Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Well, and he plays a Bret Michaels wannabe kind of a character, and it's funny, but it's just not. It's not as good as the musical. So, but we have auditions March 5th, 6th, and 7th for that. And then we'll have our production go up in May. So a couple months of that. And
cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun. A
couple of grueling months of rehearsals.
Oh, man, yeah. And that's the kind of thing you get into. You had mentioned before we went on, the concept of acting in a show is a lot of work. But directing, it's a lot of work. And, you put the right people around you. You cast the show the right way. And then you pray for the best.
Yeah, I once heard that directing is kind of like herding cats.
It is.
Yeah, everybody wants to go different directions.
Yep. Yeah. You come in with a good mindset, and it for the most part, the show works itself. There's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes. But you put a lot of trust in your cast, your crew, and your production team, and it usually goes pretty well.
Local theater has always amazed me. Just because of the family feel to it.
Oh yeah.
Because I started out on stage at Dayton Theater Guild back in I think it was 2001 when I first time I ever did a stage play, and I went in. I didn't know anybody, and of course, theater everybody knows everybody, and I went in. I knew nobody. They asked me and said, "Well, what's your acting experience?" I said, "None. I've never done this." Okay. Well, even in high school, I was like, no, I've never done this.
First time.
I was 25 years old. I walked in. I saw in the paper they had auditions, and I was like, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And got cast, and it was a lot of fun. I did several since then with the Dayton Theater Guild, Brookville Community Theater, Troy Civic Theater. I did a handful up there, and I wish I had time to do more because I love it. I love performing on stage. Yeah. To me, it's a lot easier than stand-up comedy. Yeah. To some people, it is. To some people,
it's very similar in some ways too. Yeah.
But it's just I miss it, and I just don't have the time. It's such a commitment.
Major
because
commitment.
you're months and months. You're there several nights a week. Just as an actor, of course, as director, you're there every night.
Yeah, and the weekends. We get pulled
and
in
the
a lot.
weekends because it's community theater. You're half the time you're building the set for it.
Yeah.
So it's
and Dayton's one of those areas that when me and my wife moved here a few years ago, we didn't realize how lucky we were to move here because there's so many theater opportunities.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's professional, semi-professional community, and it's wonderful. We got involved with Playhouse South, but there's my first show was at Beaver Creek, and I was very similar. I hadn't done a show in almost 10 years. Last one I did was in high school, and I walk in and just terrified. And it was funny that somebody said something along the lines of, "Are you scared?" And we're like, oh, "Okay, yeah, we're all terrified." Yeah. And just kind of it cut the tension, and it's just a lot of fun. You walk in, I didn't know anybody, and some of those people are some of my best friends now, and it's a great community, great family.
As I walked in, it was a production I auditioned for it was directed by Saul Kaplan. I don't know.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
know Saul.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Legend of Dayton Community Theater.
Oh, yeah, absolutely is. And I walked in there, and of course, I didn't know anybody, and definitely didn't know the director. And everybody walked in, not only knew everybody, but knew him on a first-name basis. And I was like, yeah, I ain't got a chance.
Yeah. No, I know the feeling. Absolutely.
But I've been in a handful of shows directed by Saul, and he's always fun to work with.
I haven't worked with him, but I've heard so many great things. So,
oh yeah.
At some point I'll reach out over there and get away from the one theater. But it's always fun to walk in. As I was leaving, I actually knew Drienne through Unwritten and through she was in a show my wife directed in the fall, and you just know everybody. You may not know everybody personally, but there's a name goes out, and if you're in the community theater scene, you're familiar with that name.
Yeah, I don't think I've done a stage play in probably 8 years.
You gotta get back into it. Find some time.
Well, that's I work second shift now, so I'm trying to find something on day shift, and when I do, I'm going to seriously consider it.
Absolutely.
Well, I also am part owner of Wiley's Comedy Club, so I have a lot of
busy man
some
too.
duties I have there, plus this and comedy when I can, and. Getting ready. Actually, have a cast meeting for Black Mamba Rising, a new movie being made by William Lee.
Okay,
and we're going to have the cast meeting this Saturday for the first time. So
it's ramping up for you too.
It's ramping up for me too. It'll be the fourth movie I've done with William.
Awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Hopefully this one gets as successful as the other ones, because the one's out now. 6 Feet Below Hell has been out on Redbox for 9 months now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that's great. That's awesome. I haven't gotten into the film scene, but it's just, around here anymore. It's about as vast as the theater scene. Yeah, I know so many people that have got some experience with it, and some people like you are a little bit more than just some experience.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. I still prefer live theater to comedy or film, but not having the time for live theater.
Yeah, it's more of a commitment, and yes, it's all down into like a couple months, but it stretches itself out at times.
Oh yeah. Now Dayton South, how long a run do they do?
So what we'll do down there is we'll open on May 11th, and that's the Friday, our opening night. We'll do 3 shows that weekend with the Sunday matinee, and then we'll do it the next weekend. So we'll end up doing 6 shows.
Okay, so just 2 weekends.
Yeah, 2 weekends.
The Guild used to do 3, and I always thought that third weekend just felt kind of run down.
Yeah, it's tough on the actors.
The peak.
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
A show is going to peak at one point.
Yeah, and that's something too that we've always talked about the idea of maybe trying to do a third weekend, or maybe trying to do a 4th performance on one of the weekends or both, and it's a lot of work. You go into a single show, and it's depending on the role, depending on the show, you put a lot of emotions and energy into it. Yeah. And so to do that, let alone 6 times, maybe 8 or 9 times, or however it may be, it might be, it starts to take a toll on you. You just feel drained, and you don't want the shows toward the end to lack something that.
And a lot of times with the third weekend, a lot of times I felt that they did.
Yeah, and the cool thing with having the third weekend is by then the word of mouth may have gone around. But unfortunately, you don't want the actors to feel burnt out at the same time.
Right.
So.
Now there was one show I did there where we did 3 weekends, and we actually added shows.
Really?
We it was called Sordid Lives. It was a very popular, very raunchy. And
that always brings in a crowd.
I had so much. At one point, I'm on stage in nothing but my underwear, and it was not pretty.
See, last year I did the same thing. I was in Heather's the Musical, and I played Kurt. And right before we get shot on stage, we're down in just our underwear, me and a buddy of mine, and it's kind of an experience to drop down to your skivvies on stage.
Yeah, I've had 3 shows I had to do that.
You're getting typecast.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm getting type. That's why I took a break from it. I was getting typecast in it. And the funny thing is, one of the last shows I did wasn't the last one, but it was like the second to the last one I did. There was a young lady. It was her first time on stage, and I thought it was funny because I told her, I said, I have underwear that's been on stage more than. But see,
that's great.
That was an interesting experience, because that was the first opening scene of that show is this same young lady and I on the couch making out.
Yeah.
And here we are backstage. It's her first time going on stage, and she's
That's
back
how
there.
you open up the
oh
show.
Oh my god, I'm going to throw up. I'm going to backstage, not because of me.
Yeah, just nerves.
But just nerves. And the whole time I'm thinking, oh great, you're going to throw up on me.
What a way to start an acting career, though.
Yeah, that was.
Jeez.
She did a great job, though.
Oh,
I think she went on and continued to do it.
That's great.
So I didn't ruin it for her.
That's good. That wasn't a one and done situation.
Yeah. But no, I miss theater so much.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things that when I finally got back into it, it was a Sweeney Todd at BCT, and from then, I think between then and now, I've been in probably 3 or 4 or 5 shows, but I've directed just as many and done crew and tech, and it's there's a place for everybody in theater.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to be the acting type. We absolutely need a large assortment of people.
Yeah. There's all kinds of behind the scenes stuff that that has to be taken care of. I know several of the guild shows. I was actually their gun wrangler.
Mm. Yeah, there's so many random.
I wasn't on stage, but theater there was. I was for Sordid Lives because I made some of my own blanks for that.
Okay, which
was so much fun.
I'm sure that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, because it was a double barrel shotgun.
Okay,
and I used real firearms just with nobody touched them but me till they went on stage, and I was very controlling.
Well,
because
that
what can happen, and I've never had a misfire.
That's good
because you know how theater is. Those blank pistols, those things don't work half the time because nobody really takes care of them. Using my own, they are well taken care of.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
well, that's awesome.
Yeah, props just get thrown all over.
They do.
Place, so
there's the rule: don't touch a prop that's not yours.
Yeah.
Other than problem is half of them look cool, and you want to mess with them, and you're like, oh, what's this? But yeah, absolutely.
But I'll have to get back. If I get a day shift job again, I'm going to have to get out and do.
There's so many opportunities. You got to get out there, and even if put on your audition, you don't want to lead, you just want to kind of get your toes wet again.
Right.
Just be in the show and.
I've only had to lead a couple times. It doesn't happen.
I don't like the lead.
Yeah.
I like to be the guy on the side that makes everybody laugh, or I like the villain. I don't like the lead. There's too much work for the lead.
Yeah, one of the last ones I did, I blanked on. It wasn't during a show. It was a final rehearsal.
Okay,
and that scared the life out of me because
I
went on stage and it was my first line, and I had no recollection of what it was. I just went out because. And part of the problem is when I first went on, somebody asked me a direct question, and my response was nowhere near a good response to that. The actual response in the script was just so off that I forgot what I was supposed to say, and it just
Yep, deer in the headlights. Yeah.
And from that moment on, every time I got to the theater, I would read through the entire script before I went on.
Yeah.
That became my habit every time.
We get into habits as actors of looking at it. We know it, but we just get in there. We get right before and we're looking because it's just nerves.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's the nerves and it's that fear of blanking, which
you get that first line out. Usually it's better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's that first line.
I've seen it. Well, I've had it happen to me on stage doing comedy where I forgot. I had one show I was supposed to do 15 minutes. I think I ended up doing 7 because I could remember my setups. I couldn't remember a punchline. And I finally, after struggling, I just yelled at the host, like, I'm done.
Cut me.
Yep. Get me out of here.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's always it's a legitimate fear too, because I don't think there's a worse feeling.
Yeah, there is a such thing as stage fright.
Yeah,
that's real. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So we got to get you on the drive-in.
Absolutely.
Find a time to get you on there.
Yeah. Well, we both have kind of hectic schedules.
I know. The cool thing is actually, so tomorrow, not tomorrow, this weekend, I'm going to try a new technique of getting it so I can have remote recording. So person doesn't have to be in the same place as me to record.
Oh, cool.
And really, it would just be one of those things where you go see a movie, we find a time to record at the same time, and so we'll see if maybe that works. But,
yeah, that'd be good.
But yeah, I know with
kind of like
Eventide,
yeah,
we Skype it in and try to see if we can maybe throw something together with that. So
yeah, hopefully Eventide really takes off.
Yeah, it seems like
they got
it's
a lot
growing.
of good shows on there.
Yeah.
then that's the good thing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about switching, instead of doing my feed separately, because I do my own feed for this show, for my podcast, and plus I have he puts the whole thing out on Fridays. I'm thinking about just having him doing it, and I'm going to just try to get anybody that does listen to my feed now to just switch over.
Start listening there.
Because it'll save me money.
Yeah. And hey, that's what it's about.
That's what it's all about. And get more listeners to even.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think I'm going to take a little break, play some music. We got some Potter's Field queued up. Have you heard Potter's Field?
I haven't.
This friend of mine, I went to high school with him. He has a couple albums out now. He's with another band called I cannot remember what they're called right now.
All right.
But Potter's Field was a solo project. He started out in a band called Destric War.
Okay.
So here's a little Potter's Field, and I'll try to remember what the name of his new band is.
All right, excellent.
So.
Nothing spam. There's not got much spam in it. I don't want any spam.
Why can't you have egg, bacon, spam and sausage?
That's got spam in it.
Not as much as spam, egg, sausage and spam.
Look, could I have egg, bacon, spam and sausage without the spam? Ugh. What do you mean? I don't like spam.
Spam, spam, spam.
All right, had to have a little spam
Yeah,
in there
absolutely.
today. So we're back on the Life Radio Show. I'm your host, Don Smith, sitting in the studio with Aaron Lopez, director extraordinaire, and podcaster,
a little bit of everything.
and a little bit of everything. And you act a lot too. Have you ever done film? Have you
I've never done film.
Never at all.
Never done film, and I don't know why. If it's just opportunity, or I don't have the look for it. I don't know. If I've never jumped into it,
It's a different kind of acting.
Yeah.
Altogether. No.
Well, I don't know. I have been very interested in acting since I think my very first acting experience was one of those Catholic school Christmas pageants, and I got dressed up as a cow and I got to say moo, and I was caught from there.
Yeah, from then on.
Yeah, from then on, I knew.
You mooed better than any other.
Yeah, and it's just funny because they randomly picked kids. They're like, hey, you, and you, and then I dressed up in a cow outfit, and yeah, it was from then on. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun acting. I think more so recently I've gotten more into the directing side of it, just because I enjoy having overarching creative ideas.
Yeah, some creative control.
Yeah. But, I'll dip here and there into the acting pool again, depending on the show and obviously my schedule. But beyond that, it's a lot of directing. A lot of behind the scenes is where
are you an all controlling director, or do you let your actors have some freedom first and then tell them how you want it, or?
Yeah, I'd say I'm not very controlling. I also direct at the high school that I teach at, and I've done a lot of high school directing as well. And I kind of take that as I treat my high schoolers like I treat my adult actors, as they're all adults, and they're there for a reason. They're talented. They can come up with some ideas, but when it comes down to it, is I'm there to help guide them to some decisions. And sometimes there's some things that they'll try that I'll just flat out say, hey, I wasn't feeling it. I don't like that. But I'll be upfront with them. I'm just going to cut them off and say, hey, no, that's horrible. Don't do that. And then we move on.
Right.
They're there because they enjoy it. No one's getting paid to do it. So I'm not there to make life difficult. Yeah.
There's one of the first ones I did. I had a stage manager that was rather controlling, and I had the conversation with her once. I said, "Look, I'm doing this for fun.
Yeah.
If it stops being fun, I'm done."
Yeah, I think we've all had that experience where we're volunteers. I mean, we're doing it for a hobby, for fun, but we're not there to get yelled at.
Right.
Of course, if we're doing something asinine, we probably need to get put in check. But if we're not, then kind of it needs to be fun.
I've had directors that were very controlling. They wanted everything their way, and I've had some that would let you run free with it for a while and see what they liked out of it. But one of my favorites, I had one that was very controlling, and there was something I wanted to do that they didn't see it that way, but basically my way was better. and that we kind of got into it about it, and I said, okay, I'll do it your way in rehearsals. And that's exactly what I did. And the bad thing is that for the opening night I did it my way, and
you got
she came up to me and said, okay, it worked.
You got the laugh that you needed. So
exactly. So but it doesn't always work.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I think we all have those onstage horror stories that we've experienced. And
yeah. Do we want to hit some news stories? Do we want to see what's going on in the world? Because it's getting about 20 till. I usually try to bring some news stories on board.
Fantastic.
Let's see. Let me find something good here. Okay. It's been a while since I looked at some of these. Continental is a rather infamous dive bar in New York City's East Village. There's a large, hard-to-ignore sign outside promising in the most recent iteration 6 shots of anything for $12. Last week, musician Eden Brower noticed a different sign taped to the window of the bar announcing that the word literally had been banned from the establishment. Brower tweeted a photo of the sign which read in all caps, "Sorry, but if you say the word literally inside Continental, you have 5 minutes to finish your drink and then you must leave. If you actually start a sentence with I literally, you must leave immediately. This is the most overused and annoying word in the English language, and we will not tolerate it." Seems like a rather extreme solution to that problem, but okay. The bar updated the sign days later, throwing shade at one of America's most famous families, stating, "Stop Kardashianism now." Which I have to agree with completely on both.
That's great. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. I have a friend who we tease him because he uses the word literally a little too often. But even he knows he does. And so anytime he says it, we just give him the eye, and he's like, oh, yeah, okay, all right.
Fine.
But it's just, he doesn't even care anymore at that point. It's right, though. Too often do people use it.
Yeah, I got a phone call coming in. I hate it when that happens. When I'm on the air and somebody calls my cell phone. I'm busy.
They're not listening.
Yep. Call 775-5555. We'll put you on the air. We can talk. But, but if you're calling my cell phone, then you're not listening to the show, and that is a grievous error. That's
one worthy of not answering the phone.
Exactly. It's just going to vibrate there. That's why I turn it to silent too, because it's not the wife, so it's okay. I can ignore it.
It'd be a different story.
Yeah, if it was the wife, it'd be a different story. But she never calls me anymore. She waits till I'm driving and then starts texting me. Yeah, because I think she's trying to kill me.
But you're not supposed to text back.
Right.
But if you don't text back,
where are you at? If I do, it's either I text back or I don't text back and I get in trouble with her, or I text back and I run off the road.
Well, the new thing now, and it's probably not new anymore, but you can have Siri read your messages to you, and you can have like, "Hey, send back." But you never know what Siri is going to sound like when they.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I had a friend that did that all the time. Well, not a friend. It's a guy I worked with. Not a friend. But he would, they're calling again. Are you kidding me? Go away. Anyway, I had a guy I worked with. He would do that. And he had a voice thing where he could talk into his phone. And he wasn't driving. He was sitting on his butt at work. Man. And he would yell into his phone. Of course, it didn't hear him right the first time. So he'd have to yell it 4 or 5 times. And then he'd send it, because it would copy it as a text. And then he'd send the text to his wife. And then he told me one day that his wife has an app on her phone where it'll read the text to her. I was like, so basically, she doesn't want to talk to you on the phone. It's your voice that's the problem. She would rather hear some electronic voice, like, what's his name? The scientist. I can't think of his name. Yeah. She'd rather hear that voice read his words. It's like she just doesn't like hearing.
Doesn't like the sound of your
That's what it is. You've been married too long. She no longer likes the sound of your voice.
That's great.
So, but to me, it's funny. He's sitting there not doing anything. She was at home not doing anything. Just talk on the phone.
Yeah,
you don't have to scream that you're texting. You know?
Yeah. You're talking and listening, but that's defeating the purpose of texting.
Right, exactly. Yeah, can't have that. We have texting now. We have new technology. We can talk into our phone, convert it to text, send the text, and then convert the text to sound when it gets there.
Who needs
a telephone?
Who needs to talk to somebody anymore?
Yep, that's so 1990.
Corded phones.
Oh, okay. Where are we at here? Even going for a leisurely bike ride in Australia isn't without its share of animal-related dangers, as a group of cyclists discovered last weekend. A group of 6 riders was cycling through the Boona region in southeast Queensland. Pardon me. About an hour from Brisbane on Friday, when a kangaroo suddenly emerged from the bushland lining the road and leaped into a female rider. They said after we crested a hill about 30 kilometers into the ride, we slowed to let others catch up. 2 of us saw kangaroos on both sides of the roads. The one on the left hopped away. The one on the right waited to join its mob. Video captured by a handlebar mounted camera. See, I haven't read this in a while, so I'm kind of rusty here. On a handlebar mounted camera of one of the riders showed the moment when the large kangaroo bounded out of the bush and to the right side of the road. Crossed over the other side of the road, in the process colliding with one of the cyclists. A cyclist named Rebecca was injured in the collision, but the kangaroo hopped away apparently unscathed.
Those things are dangerous.
That's because it's a kangaroo.
Yeah. You see the videos of people just getting walloped by those things.
Yeah,
pack a punch.
Well, yeah, they're large animals. It's like hitting a deer. I'd hate to do that on a bicycle.
Yeah.
about the same thing. I was reading a while back. There was the issue. One of the issues they were having down there with the self-driving cars, the cars that you can tell what's around you, is they can't detect them.
Oh, because it's not part of the system.
Because it's not, because they hop, so they only go what's off the ground.
Oh, wow.
And the kangaroos confuse the self-driving cars, so it's like, that's not going to work.
Nope. Got to make sure you are in a kangaroo-less environment.
Exactly. No self-driving cars in Australia. This is getting on my nerves now. Should I answer? Let's see who. If this is a salesperson, I'm coming after you. Security software on my computer. You didn't install anything. Shut up. This is why I hate cell phones.
Yeah, I know. Everybody has access to your number.
Exactly. So I've been thinking about getting rid of my home phone because nobody has my home. Nobody uses my home phone number except my one brother and telemarketers. So telemarketers already have my cell phone number. So
yeah. You know, and there's a new thing going around, and it's everywhere because every person I talk to has got it. I've got an old Illinois area code because I grew up over there, and so if I ever get a phone call from that area code, I know it's nobody that I know. They get your number and then they sell it, and there's a scam going around. But if you get a random phone call from somebody back home and it's not in your phone, chances are just don't answer it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, that went off about 3 or 4 times.
Unless they call 3 or 4 times while you're recording.
And it was a recording. It's like, okay, what are you, stuck in a loop?
Yeah, that's crazy.
All right. An inmate who escaped from a federal prison in southeast Texas was arrested Wednesday while allegedly trying to sneak back in with snacks, alcohol, tobacco, and cooked food. Jefferson County Sheriff's Office said in a statement that they had been tipped off that the inmates had been sneaking out of the prison complex and re-entering with contraband. Joshua Randall Henson, 25, was spotted by sheriff deputies and U.S. Marshals running out of the back of the federal prison in Beaumont on Wednesday evening. The statement said Hansen picked up a large duffel bag that a vehicle had dropped off at the private property adjacent to the prison. The deputies said they arrested Hansen as he was trying to re-enter the prison. The duffel bag contained 3 bottles of Martell brandy, a bottle of Crown Royal whiskey, multiple bags of Bugler tobacco, salty snacks, fruit, and home-cooked foods like barbecued sausage and fried chicken. Hansen is serving 27-month sentence for drug-related charges. He now faces additional charges of escape and marijuana possession. Oh, they didn't say that was in the bag, too. Yeah, see, they didn't list that because that never made it to the evidence locker. Lead. Yeah. According to Deputy Marcus McClellan, I'll say it right eventually, if it kills me, inmates walking off the prison grounds only to return with contraband is not a new phenomenon. He told Beaumont Enterprise that similar incidents have been occurring pretty much since day one. Wow. So it's no shock to them, apparently.
That's pretty crazy. You know, and here's the big thing is they're going to leave, but they're not going to try to stay off the property.
Right. You're going to risk being charged with escape just so you can try to come back in.
Now, the question was, is they said he was hiding it in a bag, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. That's a lot to try to sneak in.
Yeah, the
other way. So
that would be that'd have to be several little bags.
There you go.
Besides, I mean, a lot of it was food items, and nobody would want it after it was snuck in the old-fashioned.
Not going back on that one.
Yeah.
No, I guess the old-fashioned cake. You know, the cake doesn't work anymore.
With the hacksaw in it or the file.
You got to escape now to get your.
Well,
cake.
that's because they can't hand them over.
Yeah.
You know, which I mean, I can understand.
That's funny though.
There'd be some things. If I was stuck in prison, I would love to have some tobacco, liquor, and fried chicken.
And fried chicken.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Absolutely. Because there got to be some things you miss.
And fruit. Sure. Like they've got to be given fruit in prison.
I would hope.
It probably
so.
isn't the freshest. So. It may not be your choice, but But I don't know.
But I imagine they wouldn't give them fried chicken because of the bones. You know.
Yeah.
You'd file them down into a nice shank.
Yeah.
You have a chicken leg shank.
Half of those things you just break and they're already a shank. They're sharp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's why. But the fruit, I don't know. They'll throw them at somebody.
Yeah, spit seeds in their eye or something. Yeah. Yeah, or throw them. There's some fruit that's pretty solid if it hits you in the head.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to give them apples or anything.
Apples.
Like something have to be something fairly soft.
Bananas.
Yeah, bananas.
They'd
have to Once they get mushy, they'll give them the overripe ones.
Yeah, the ones that they sell for like 2 cents a pound. At
that way you
corner.
go to hit somebody, it just squishes in your hand, and
there you go.
got nothing.
No harm.
You've been disarmed. I actually, there's a Monty Python sketch about that too. I actually played it earlier in the show about defense against fresh fruit.
Oh, nice! And we've come full circle.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only one way to deal with a banana fiend. First, you force him to drop the banana. Yeah. Then you eat the banana. You have now rendered him helpless. Oh, gotta love Python. Are you a Python fan?
I am. Yeah, my dad got me growing up on it. I think I was in like middle school where I first saw. My first one I saw was Life of Brian. Life of Brian
that's
was
one of the best ones.
One of my favorites.
Yeah,
and growing up Catholic,
the Holy Grail was
great.
great. The Holy Grail was great, but to me, the Life of Brian is such a better movie.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love. And then Meaning of Life. Meaning of Life and Life of Brian are my two favorites.
Yeah, that one's fun.
So, no, there's just something about the whole connection and basically the fact that they just took Catholicism and just kind of turned it on its head. And it's funny growing up, going to a Catholic school and then finally seeing people kind of say, oh, hey, there's some funny ways to look at some of these
like
things.
in the Meaning of Life when they're doing the prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're singing the song about don't kill us and squish us. And, oh, Lord, you are so big.
Yeah.
Just super.
Just super. Oh, yeah. I love some Monty Python.
For the first time, a U.S. state has legalized marijuana with the stroke of a pen, not a vote at the ballot box. Vermont Governor Phil Scott on Monday, this is a couple Mondays ago, signed into law House Bill 511, which legalizes the possession of marijuana up to an ounce and removes penalties for possession of up to 2 mature marijuana plants and up to 4 immature plants. Well, if you have 4 immature plants, eventually you'll have 4 mature ones. So why does that makes no sense at all.
You're just getting rid of them as you go, maybe.
Yeah, that's like limiting you to 4 children, but only 2 adult children. So 2 of those have got to go. That's
curious.
The legislation says nothing about creating a state market for recreational weed. However, the new law will go into effect in July. Scott said, today, with mixed emotions, I have signed House Bill 511. I personally believe that what adults do behind closed doors and on private property is their choice, so long as it does not negatively impact the health and safety of others, especially children. With Scott's signature, Vermont will join 8 other legal weed states, as well as Washington, D.C., in a growing movement away from federal law, which still classifies marijuana as a Schedule I substance, alongside heroin and LSD, which never made sense to me. Yeah. Vermont legalized medical marijuana in 2004 and is currently among nearly 30 states, plus the territories of Guam and Puerto Rico and District of Columbia, with such programs in place.
Well, good for Vermont.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The only thing that worries... it doesn't really worry me. I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, but Vermont, you ever heard the term Vermont carry? See, Vermont, like here we have to have a permit for concealed carry. Vermont is a free carry state.
Really?
You don't have to have a permit to carry concealed.
Did not know that.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes, Vermont is one of the... Vermont and Alaska, I think, are the only 2 states that you actually don't need any training or any permit.
Well, Alaska makes sense
firearm.
With all the grizzlies, all the
right. Vermont,
that's I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's all the maple syrup. I don't know what.
You don't want people taking your syrup.
Yeah, but it's so close. It's just because it's close to the Canadian border. Or a lot of rough stuff going on there.
I'm surprised it took them that long with Ben and Jerry's being there. To legalize weed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's
Ben and Jerry's is going to boon.
Oh yeah,
in July.
They need a pot flavored ice cream now.
I'm surprised. I'm sure it's
not pot flavored because that would kind of stink.
Yeah,
but they do need to. There needs to be an edible weed ice cream.
Those guys keep putting some crazy stuff.
It'd be
out.
Like
it would never surprise me.
Ben and Jerry Garcia. Well, they have Cherry.
They
Garcia
have Cherry
already,
Garcia. They do.
They
do.
Yeah, they'd have to come up with something else clever for weed ice cream.
You ever look on their graveyard of all the old flavors that never made it? Oh, there's some ones in there that you look at and you're like, oh, that could be good, and then you realize it's an entire pint of it. Maybe the first couple bites would be all right, and then beyond that.
Yeah, that's true. You get something with an aftertaste to it, really wouldn't be good at all.
So, yeah, it's you don't want to linger a little bit with those flavors.
Yeah, that's true. That could be rough. All right. Well, I'll let you throw out your information out there again as far as your podcast
Cool.
and everything. Of course, you can find it on Eventide Entertainment.
Yeah. So right now, as far as the podcast goes, Drive-In comes out every Thursday. You can subscribe on Spreaker. You can find us all also on the iPodcast app. Just look for Eventide Entertainment or the Drive-In, and you'll find me. Those new episodes come out every Thursday. Top Rope Wrestling will also be coming out Thursday, but in the afternoon. So if you're into wrestling, come check that out starting next week. And then if you're into theater and you want to come out for Rock of Ages, our auditions are March 5th and 6th. And you can check Facebook for Rock of Ages Playhouse South auditions. You get some more information there. So,
All right. Well, Aaron Lopez, thanks for coming on
Thanks
the
for
show.
having me on.
We're
That was a lot of
going to go ahead and close it out.
All right, sounds good.
But definitely check out Eventide Entertainment.
Absolutely.
EventideENT.com. For both of Aaron's shows,
Yeah,
and my show. If you listen to this and say, I want to listen to that again,
so good, so nice, I want to hear it twice. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, which I mean they are, but still. All right. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and get us out of here. Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
And we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to the Life Podcast. Check us out on Eventide Entertainment's podcast network. Remember, if you want to listen live, we're on Wednesdays from noon to 2 p.m. on WWSU 106.9 FM, or you can always stream the show live at wwsu1069.org. If you have suggestions or comments for the show, feel free to email us at thelife1069@gmail.com.
Presence overwhelms me. The brutal presence overwhelms me.
We have texting now. We have new technology. We can talk into our phone, convert it to text, send the text, and then convert the text to sound when it gets there.
Who needs
a telephone?
Who needs to talk to somebody anymore?